You're listening to the Employee to Entrepreneur podcast with your host, Bill Clanton.
And welcome to the Employee to Entrepreneur podcast. I'm your host, Bill Clanton. And just to recap what this podcast is where I am documenting my journey from being an employee to being now an entrepreneur. And the biggest thing that I struggle with often is that people try to push their vision of what success is on other people. And I look at it from the standpoint of, how do you define success? And everybody's definition is completely different. For some, success is having that job that pays you what you want to get paid, that you like what you're doing, and that's it. That's it. You're happy. You're content. To others, success is having that bank account filled with millions and driving the Lamborghinis and you know, having a garage full of books. So everyone's definition is different. I just wanted to be able to pay my bills and spend more time with my wife and kids. That's it. I wanted to be able to spend time with them, take vacations, travel, and not have to worry so much about, can I get this Friday off? I got to go to my kid's pageant. Can I get the day off? If you knew how many times I was completely shocked by the lack of understanding by some employers when it comes to that type of thing. I can remember numerous times being told, get your priorities straight. And I don't know if you've been in that situation before, where you're in a job and you've got all this loyalty that you've given to this employer over the years, and they still have the nerve to turn around and say, get your priorities straight. Well, it's things like that can often eat at a person and kind of put you in a situation like I was, wanting to find something better. Was I happy in my job? You know, when it came down to it, I liked what I did. I loved what I did. And I had fun. It was exciting. I was working with technology. I'm building web pages. I was building mobile apps. I was on the bleeding edge of new technology as it was coming out, developing apps for iPhones before the App Store was even open. And this is the kind of fun excitement that I was a part of in the radio industry from a radio standpoint, where, you know, I still look at radio stations as an untapped content machine. And the radio industry, I think, just my opinion, now that I did step out of it, and I do have my own radio station that I've turned into a content generating machine. We'll talk about that in later episodes and stuff. But the thing is that radio industry is a content generating machine. So for me, it was a lot of fun. It was so much fun working in radio. But just like any corporate America job, you are still slave to that employer telling you when and where you can go and what you can, what you're allowed to do. I don't like someone telling me when and where I can spend time with my family. And that became one of the nails in the coffin for me when leaving my job. And that's what we're talking about here, is me documenting my transition from being an employee to being an entrepreneur. So one of the things that I did as far as the change, and this is where I'm not only documenting the intangibles, but actually documenting the actual step-by-step process that I took to do this, and it'll be in my book that will be coming out later this spring, Employee to Entrepreneur, 5 Days That Changed My Life. And we're going to talk about those 5 days that changed my life and what that meant and how that all worked out, because there is an actual plan that went into place that I didn't even put on paper. It's not like I put a plan on paper and said, all right, this is what I'm going to do. No, it kind of just happened, for lack of a better phrase. But it started with me taking a vacation. I took a vacation August of 2013. Prior to my departure, my last day before I went on vacation, and it wasn't a vacation where I was going away, I decided to make it a staycation. I stayed at home. So before I left, for vacation, I sent an email to the regional vice president, who was my boss, or actually my boss's boss, and said, when I come back from vacation, I would like to discuss my future at this company. And when I sent that email, my intention was nowhere near what the end result ended up being. I was not planning on quitting. My intention was to demand or request a 5% commission for any sales that I helped close for the sales department. It wasn't much, and I figured it was probably something simple that they could accommodate. I was putting in a lot of extra hours outside of my job description to help close sales. It included trips into New York City and meeting with these big executives and helping close these deals. So quitting was not my true intention. But what I did was, when I first started that vacation, I said to myself, well, what if I didn't have a job? Well, how can I get a taste of what that'll be if I didn't have a job? So I planned out my vacation to stay at home, and I pretended for 5 days that I didn't have a job. So I took those 5 days of vacation and treated it as if I had already quit and as if I was an entrepreneur, as if I was a business owner. How would I live my life, and what would I do? Of course, the first things that came to mind was I had time to spend with the kids, had time to spend with my wife, but it also gave me a time to become more self-aware. And what do I mean by that? I mean, I was able to really detail what I was good at and what I knew I was capable of doing, and then do it. So over this 5-day period, I started making some cold calls, gathering up leads, rekindling old friendships. I did plenty of research, but each day, getting up in the morning and pretending that I didn't have a 9-to-5 job to go back to after this vacation. Well, the effect on my overall mentality and psyche was tremendous, because it started to fill me with so much confidence. And not only that, I have a wife who's very supportive, and she was behind me through the whole thing. So having spousal support through the whole process is a plus. And then to not only have the support of my dad, who also worked at the same company, was also a plus. So I had support. I had support from the people who were closest to me, which was phenomenal. So during this week, I pretended like I didn't have a job. And what do you know? By the time the week was up, I had made my decision. I said, this is what my life was meant to be. This is who I was meant to be. And this is what everything up till that point had prepared me for. So there were times when, yes, I was in front of these executives in New York City trying to close a sale for somebody else. But what did that do for me? It built up the confidence for me to then go out on my own and represent myself. For all the years of writing commercials, it gave me the ability to be creative on the fly when talking to a client. All of my technical knowledge in IT gave me a great understanding of the technology that I was working with and that my clients needed to learn about. My past experience building web pages, building blogs, building podcasts, video editing, all these things that I did in my career were there to prepare me to take on this new challenge. And that new challenge was right after I became so much more self-aware of what I was capable of doing and achieving. That's when I knew that I had nothing to worry about as far as building my empire. We'll talk more about my journey from employee to entrepreneur in the next episode. We're going to expand on this self-awareness and then flying without a net. I did this without having a savings account filled with money to fall back on. So that's something to think about too. And pretty much the things that I learned as this got real. So we'll talk more about that in the next episode. Thanks for listening. This is the Employee to Entrepreneur podcast. I'm Bill Clanton. Look for me on Instagram as Bill Clanton Biz. That's B-I-Z. Look for me on Twitter, Bill Clanton Biz. And find me on Facebook, WWN as in Nancy Interactive, WWN Interactive on Facebook as well. And feel free to direct message me, send me any questions, comments. Love to hear them. And thanks for listening.
This has been the Employee to Entrepreneur podcast, a production of WWN Interactive.